Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. So, the other person I want to give a shout out to is the Polish psychic Christoph, because he did I want to say it wasn't typical. It really wasn't typical. It's a video that's posted in English on the Clear Seeing channel. Clear Seeing. So if you just type that in, you'll probably be able to find it. We've linked to it many times in the past, and we could link to it again. This was a little different because, again, he really is. He's real. We both think he's real. We both like him, and most of the time he's talking geopolitical and what's happening in the world. But he did this little aside, and it was on home and on the fact that it was really wonderful. And it's only a few minutes. This little clip, maybe 7 minutes or 8 minutes. Um, the fact that this is not home. This is not home. And this is stuff I know that our regulars understand totally. But for those out there that only know the system, it's totally foreign. This is not home. Our home is on the other side. We are basically non-physical beings. Again, we are not a thing. As I was making coffee this morning, I was just thinking, we are no thing. We are nothing, no, but we are no thing. We are not a thing. And even though we have a physical body, we're not the physical body. And even beyond that, when you see the layers of the energy body and you understand the aura and the different layers to the energy body, we're still not that. We're not even just the energy body. We're beyond the energy body. The energy body comes before the physical body. We'll shed the physical body, and we may choose to live in what's called the astral body for a time. And that's really the time where, when we're in that state, again, you can look at it like, okay, we're in 3D in the physical body, and then we go into 4D in the astral. When we lose the physical body, make our decisions, plans, review our life, and decide, do I want to do this again? What do I need to learn? In what way do I want to grow? What would give me the best opportunities? What did I screw up? What did I do well? And we plot and plan and then decide to jump back in. And somehow we probably have the understanding or access to, astrology charts, so to speak, on the other side to know, well, I really want to learn about this. So my best opportunity is going to be August 1st, 2033, or I'm going to have to wait until, October 28th, 2043, or I'm going to have to wait until, maybe something like April 1st, 2075. Which ones of these will give me the best opportunity to learn the things I want to learn and to grow in the way I want to grow? This is all done when we're out of body in what we would call 4D on the astral realm. Now, we may decide, I'm tired, or I've gotten enough info, I'm going to go back home, because the astral's not home. And that's what I wanted to get across. The astral is not home. Home is a higher plane of existence. And even when we're talking about 5D, fifth density, I don't think that's home either, because when we talk about 5D and say 6D, we're talking about higher realms where the real benevolent beings are, and the dark beings that we are familiar with here, they can't go there at all. In fact, if you are able to raise your energy to the point where you're above the lower astral, they can't really affect you. You might be able to see them or sense them to some degree if you try, but you're really past them. And in fact, we're so close to being past them right now. If we only knew as a whole how close we are to being past them at this point in time. But home is actually somewhere much different. And some of us have that feeling that this place is really foreign and it doesn't jive with us spiritually. So, I wanted to just shout out Christoph on that because I thought it was a fabulous little blurb that he did talking about our true home and how, again, we take amnesia on purposely in order to have a fully immersed experience.
Mm-hmm. We do. We do. We take a lot on, actually. We take a lot on to have that full experience of life and living. And those who are understanding it realize that whatever does happen to you in life, look at the lesson and walk in awareness. Not everyone is awake at that point yet, but we do have another layer of us, who we are, and it exists up above the stars. I thought it was interesting. I was kind of looking at that yesterday, and I realized ourselves are here, and then there's the layer of the stars, and then there's a whole nother world right above the stars, and that's where our true selves exist in a very high vibrational state. And looking from things at the higher self's perspective, you look down from the higher self perspective, and you can see the lifetime of little me. And what's fascinating about that is, since you do have that sight of little me, you have some communication with little me to help guide little me. But sometimes things you can't hear, or you can't see certain things because there might be traumas in the way, and there might be other people that are in your life and creating that disturbance or creating that vision, but also seeing all of that it means something. It definitely means something, but what does it mean? So little me is kind of walking around with a lot of blinders, and it takes a lot of healing to take those blinders off.
Absolutely. And yes, taking off the blinders, ooh, that's a big step. It really is a big step. And, there are a lot of souls that they're still infants in the bigger scheme of things. The bigger plan from the higher self is that they got a lot more experiences to have before they're going to be ready to move to a certain echelon, a certain frequency. Christoph also touched on something that a lot of people, unfortunately, of a more fundamentalist mindset don't have any understanding of because they were raised in a very different way. And he was talking about how a soul that we might think of as a human soul can actually incarnate as an animal. And yet, again, if I go back to talking about how John Levy was saying in his last video, well, all you got to do is go to the Hindu books, and you'll see clearly that there's extraterrestrial wars that have taken place and are still ongoing. Yes, and when you look to the Hindu tradition and also the indigenous shamanic tradition that you find, the farther back you go in time, and it's stated that the world's oldest religion is Hinduism, as far as an organized system, so to speak. Even though there's so many different branches, and yet it's really there's just key components. The fact that we know that this is just temporary. This is not really even who we are. We are not the physical body. That's self-realization. That's basic Hinduism. But it's not just basic Hinduism, because the Gnostics are in agreement. The people that follow the Hermetic philosophies were in agreement. The Cathars were in agreement. They were wiped out. And we could go on down the line with all the indigenous people around the world. Yes. And what else do the Australian Aborigines or Aboriginals from Africa or anywhere, what do they know? Well, they know that this isn't it, that there's beings that are invisible to us that are walking side by side with us every single day. And you can reach those beings. The easy way is through different substances, some of which, again, you might add to a meal. A mushroom meatloaf, yeah. Others, that can bring on really nasty things, such as that stuff begins with an A. That a lot of people go to Peru and other places to experience, in a certain environment. But you can also bring it on through meditation. And through meditation is the way that I think is the best way. because it's controlled and it's slow and it's gentle and it doesn't have any negative side effects. It, in fact, forces us to face a lot of things. A lot of people can't face the stillness and the quiet. They need to have noises. They need to have technology out there. I was one of them. I mean, when I woke up for years, when I was in the system going into the corporate environment, what did I do? I turned on a radio and I also turned on a TV. I had both going. One was telling me the news, one was telling me the sports. You know, I was so immersed myself, and even then, I was still practicing qigong, and I was still doing meditation every night. But I was still way more in the mental constructs of this system than at this point. When for me, it's like I just can't wait for opportunities to come outside and to just spend time in the yard listening to the birds and just watching the squirrels. You know, to me, that has replaced a lot of sporting events. I still watch certain sports a little bit here and there, but you know, it's being in the world and not being of the world, and it's also understanding this is a temporary experience. You know, I'm not afraid of what's on the other side of this experience because again, that's how most people are controlled. It's through the fear of the unknown. I understand that the unknown is intentional from the higher self.
Indeed, indeed, it is. You have to have the blinders on. You have to have the things you cannot see to make the experience full and bring it to its, full fruition. It's there's a lot of people, beings who want to come down here and take on a body and have an experience. So we should, I feel, we should be in a state of gratitude even through the yucky things somehow, some way, and continue on, And I mean, sometimes people don't feel like their home is here, but for a short time, it is here. And understand that the home that you have here is a smaller version of the home that you have on the upper echelons. And always keep that in mind and keep your home clean and keep it pristine and keep it happy. Um, know that everything that you have down here, you have up there. And maybe find ways to turn your attention. If you're sad about something, look for the gratitude, look for the ways to turn it. And I know that's so easy said rather than done, but at least keep those thoughts in your mind to look for gratitude, because everything that you are trying to create, trying to manifest in this world, starts with a thought. That's a truth. That's a fundamental truth. It's not an opinion. It's not, oh, what I think. It's a truth. Everything that we create in this world starts from a thought. So if there's things around you that don't look good, where did that come from? Where did those thoughts stem from? And how do you need to repattern your brain to have things change in your life? Because if it's all thought and if it's all energy, then we have more power and more control than we think.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of times the smaller me, will control through fear-based thoughts. You know, what if fear of lack, not having enough. You know, what am I going to do if, you know, I lived in the corporate world for so long because I couldn't conceive of not having guaranteed money coming in. And, you know, it was a very, very painful process moving out to not having a fixed, you know, income, not having a guaranteed check coming on a regular basis. But it was really the best move, the only move that I could do to allow spiritual growth. Because am I living for myself or am I living for somebody else? Am I living for possibilities or am I living in fear of not having restrictions? You know, again, is it a fear-based life or is it a life full of possibilities and potential? You know, what guides me is always the thought that I know I'm going to be taken care of as long as I keep putting the priority of trying to help others to the forefront. You know, this is just something I've seen in my life. I've never gotten to the point where everything has fallen apart to the degree that I have to go crawling to the system. In fact, the less you're in the system, the less you will need the system, the more you will find your own freedom. When Yeshua was saying in my father's house, and I do think there are some real quotes from the real Yeshua that are incorporated into what we call scripture with the purpose of resonating, because it's something that's going to resonate. You're going to, again, we get the impression of the real Yeshua. We get some words that he truly did speak, and then we get paradigms that were not what he was telling us. And so this is how the control system still tries to maintain control. They have to have some of the truth out there in order to pull us in, to feel something, to hear something, it resonates, and then we get pulled in, and then they give us a dogma that's antithetical to what he was really talking about. So when he says in my father's house there's many mansions, people automatically take that it's the creator, it's God with the big G, or source. But what if he was just talking about his higher self? Because in reality, our higher selves in many cases are having multiple experiences right now. As I've shared with you, I've gotten a glimpse of being at this very moment somebody about half my current age in this incarnation over somewhere in Southeast Asia. And I do know that was a concurrent life. I do feel it was a concurrent life. And we've also gotten information from the guides that again prove to me that yes, I think we do have concurrent lives. The higher self may have a half dozen lives going at any one time. And newsflash, not all of them, for especially star seeds. For star seeds, you might not be having all your lives on Earth at one time. I've gotten glimpses of very, very alien places, but yet at the same time, humanoid beings on it that feel like they might be concurrent realities flowing at this point in time.
That's right. I mean, it does get very complicated, and some people want desperately to understand it. And I think they only want to understand it so maybe they can somehow jump the line, or maybe they can cheat. Maybe they think, oh, if I understand this and I can predict the future, then I can just have everything I want, and I can just sort of cheat, and it's okay because I figured it out. But
Well, that is exactly, well, because I believe in a dogma. I get
mhm,
a get out of jail free card, or I get a pass all this and move straight up to this particular
mhm,
point. Remember the game Shoots and Ladders, or
yeah.
Monopoly. It's like, well, I got the right dogma, so I'm going to pass the herd. I'm going right to here. And in reality, it's the dogma that will end up setting you back and sending you back to kindergarten time and time again.
So, from experience, I can tell you there is no cheating, there is no shortcuts, there's none of that. There's things that Saturn wants to teach us and Saturn needs to teach us, because that's its job, is to bring you expansion and to bring you understanding. And many times that does unfortunately come through pain, because pain is the thing that we want to get away from. And you really have to figure things out to a certain degree. You cannot just have experiences in your life and then walk away. No, there's a lesson to be learned, in something that was predestined by your higher self for you to learn while you are here. So, no, there, you can try to jump the line, and I've tried all that stuff, but it's not happening. It's just not happening. Where what you can do though, and what I've experienced myself, is the love that you put into yourself. That definitely creates a magnetic field around you, and things just go better. If you're doing the meditation and you're doing the mantras and you're very sincere in your actions and you're doing it out of love for yourself, and that is different than self service. A love of self is more like a love of higher self, and a love and appreciation of your experience here on earth, and how you do appreciate your vessel and all the things, all the feelings and emotions that come with it. So once we have that and we have that understanding, it makes it a lot better. So you just start loving yourself. And one way you can do that is you look in the mirror and you tell yourself, I love you and I'm getting better every day.
Absolutely. And so when Yeshua says, I and the Father are one, it doesn't necessarily even mean that he's talking about the creator of this universe. Again, he could be talking to his higher self and saying that the higher self and what the higher self wants is what I want. So even though I come in pretty, much with amnesia, I can sense that this is a learning experience. I can sense that I shouldn't get caught up into a negative spiral that's going to be harder to climb back out of later on. That I should, I could sense that I should look at things with a Buddhist compassion and yet detachment at the same time. And that is tricky. It's not easy. I mean, how can you at the same time feel compassion and feel detached? Now, again, detachment meaning I'm not going to be pulled into any drama that's going to spiral my frequency downwards. Will I have peaks and valleys? Absolutely. We all have peaks and valleys. Again, overturning money tables. I get that way with the system too, to the point where I push the entire system away. And then that has hurt me in my ability to help others because, I wish I had the ability to do this. I wish I had the ability to do that. But see, I didn't, utilize the system as much as I could have utilized it in retrospect. And then I could have helped even more people, perhaps. But, this is again why no man is an island. So we work together. We work together, understanding that we all have a part in this drama and this new cycle that we're getting into because we are on the ascending path. We're not on the descending path. That's night and day.
Right. We have to keep that in mind no matter how difficult things get, no matter what life throws at you. There's always a reason and a purpose, and people are out there having changes made in their life and they're asking why, and then something happens and they're like, oh, okay, I get it. That's why. And that feeling is so sweet and it is so undisturbed and it is so anchoring when you finally have the reason why. I mean, to me, that's the pinnacle of our existence, is to find those lessons.
Yes. And to go back to what Christoph was saying briefly about the soul may even be our best friend. A part of a human soul can come into a dog and we just by coincidence might happen to be in this one neighborhood and see a puppy in a box, on the side of the highway and rescue it. And that was meant to be from the higher echelons. And literally, the soul that's in that puppy might have been the soul that was your grandfather or something along those lines. If you look to the Hindu tales, you'll see that the devas themselves jump into animals. And this is not foreign to Native American or, Australian Aboriginal, African Aboriginal, different tribes around the world will recognize this, that very, very high frequency beings may, put their consciousness into an animal and affect us in a positive way, guide us in a gentle way, because it's a way of non-interference, but still having an influence on us. And so, it doesn't karmically alter things. We still have a fresh experience, and yet here they are. They're still here. Again, our loved ones are never far away.
No, they're not. And I just want to clarify that I myself have been through situations that I absolutely did not enjoy in any way, shape, or form, where you're crying all night in pain, where you lose a loved one, or even lose your family. And those are really, really hard things to go through. So it's not like I'm trying to put a sugar coated blanket over everything, over life experiences. No. But what I can do is I can look back at those experiences when I went through things that were horrible, things that were terrible, things that a lot of people just do not experience. And I can make connections with other people that are having that same difficulty, or I can make a connection with people who are making those struggles. And at least, if I cannot offer anything, I can offer to them that they are not alone, and there is a path to happiness, there is a path to wholeness, there is a path to being healed. So, and when you are able to really give that to another human being, that is priceless to me.
Absolutely. So, just some random thoughts this morning that we wanted to share. We thank you guys for your support. Again, you could join us on Patreon for exclusives that come every week for as little as when you pay for a year in advance, $10.80 or about 90 cents a month while we're still in the system. It absolutely helps us to keep going and focusing on making videos and sharing what we have experienced ourselves and what we know with others. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.